Is congregational singing optional? What does Colossians chapter 3 verse 16 really teach, Does singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs only apply to your personal, private life? In other words, is it something that belongs just in your car, your shower, or your quiet time at home? That's a fair question, especially in a time when people say worship is personal. Whatever feels right to you must be right with God. But is that really what Scripture teaches? Let's look closely at Colossians chapter 3, verse 16. Paul writes, "Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord." Notice something here. This verse isn't describing a one-way street. It's not simply you singing to God. It says, teaching and admonishing one another. That's mutual. It's interactive. It's not just private. It's shared. Ephesians chapter 5 verse 19 gives the same idea. Speaking to one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs. That's public. That's corporate. That's congregational. Of course, that doesn't mean singing can't be private. James chapter 5 verse 13 says, "Is anyone cheerful? Let him sing praises." And in Acts 16 verse 25, Paul and Silas sang hymns in prison, hardly a church building. So yes, you can sing alone or with a friend, or even while walking your dog. But the question is about more than personal worship. It's about whether Colossians chapter 3 verse 16 is only private. And the answer is no. Singing is also a part of what we do together as the church when we assemble. Now, here's another important question. What kind of music did the early church offer to God? It's tempting to think they must have used instruments. After all, music and instruments go hand in hand in our world today. But look at what the New Testament actually records. Time after time, Christians are told to sing. Not play, not strum, not beat drums or blow horns, just sing. And well, not just any kind of singing, but singing from the heart. In 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 15, Paul says, "I will sing with the Spirit, and I will sing with the understanding also." Again, there's no mention of mechanical instruments, only voices, hearts, and understanding. In fact, the entire New Testament is silent on the use of instruments in worship. And silence isn't permission. Silence is the absence of authority. When God speaks, we listen. When He doesn't authorize, we don't assume. You may wonder, why would God leave instruments out? After all, there were plenty available in the first century. Harps, flutes, drums, they weren't hard to find. But God didn't include them, not by oversight, but by design. As Alexander Campbell once said, to those who are spiritually minded, bringing in instruments is like dragging a cowbell into a symphony. It may make noise, but it ruins the music. Benjamin Franklin, not the one with the kite, but a 19th century gospel preacher, put it plainly. Christ didn't forget to include instruments. He left them out on purpose. Not one apostle used them. Not one church in the New Testament used them. They only came in later, as church leaders began drifting from the simplicity of New Testament worship. And that's the real danger, isn't it? When we stop asking, what has God said, and start asking, what do I like, we've already missed the point. Worship isn't about what pleases us, it's about what pleases God. The late Guy N. Woods said it well. No command, no approval, no example of instrumental music in Christian worship. It came from apostasy, not from the apostles. It stands on no more biblical authority than incense or rosary beads. So, where does that leave us today? It leaves us with a powerful and clear pattern. The early church sang. That's it. They sang from the heart. They taught and encouraged one another through lyrics grounded in Scripture and filled with grace. No show, no performance, just faithful, meaningful praise. And the church that belongs to Christ still follows that pattern. Not because it's old-fashioned, but because it's biblical. God gave us voices to blend in harmony, hearts to stir with meaning, words to teach and admonish. We don't need amplifiers or organs to reach His ears. What He wants is the melody of grace coming from the depth of our souls. So no, Colossians chapter 3, verse 16 isn't just about what you sing in private. It's about how the church, united in truth and love, offers spiritual sacrifices of praise, one to another, and all to the Lord. And that, in the eyes of God, is music that truly pleases.